and you are listening to episode 28, SCW, the wrestling podcast. That's right, we made it all the way to episode 28. Hi, my name is Steve from SCW, and I'm joined by George, the Critique Jones, in the hot seat. George, how are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm great, Steve. How are you?
Very good, thank you. It's been a very action-packed week, especially for us UK people, being knocked out of Europe twice in 1 week. We're not in the EU anymore, and also Euro 2016 did not go too well for us either. But we're not going to be talking political, we're not going to be talking football. It's all about the world of professional wrestling. You listen to us via SoundCloud, and providing I've got everything technically done correctly, for the first time ever, you'll be able to listen to us as well on my YouTube channel, which is SCW, hashtag SCW, should I say, Steve Chats Wrestling. You can subscribe to that channel right now, and while you're at it as well, if you're listening via SoundCloud, SCW, the wrestling podcast, hit that follow on that page right now. We've got the same name page for the Facebook account as well, SCW, the wrestling podcast. Just type that into the top of the search engine, hit the like button, you keep up to date with all the breaking news as and when it happens. Of course, that is a good place for the breaking news as well as the YouTube channel. If you want to message me directly, Twitter is the place to be, at SChat Wrestling. So you're probably thinking, episode 28, what are we going to be doing? Well, Raw Revisited is what we're going to be doing at some point today. We're going to be talking about Monday Night Raw. Could briefly touch on SmackDown, maybe in places as well, if need be. We're going to be talking about Randy Orton. We're going to be talking about Brock Lesnar, CM Punk, Kurt Angle. There's also going to be talking about Whatculture. Of course, Whatculture had their own first wrestling promotion. The first show, Loaded, was done for WCPW. We're going to see how big that potentially could be. A potential big star leaving Lucha Underground, and as well, we're going to be giving you the explanation of how we expect the WWE draft to work, and we're even going to show you to the point that we're going to have a draft ourselves. So George will be representing either Raw or SmackDown. I will be representing the other brand, and we will have a draft, and we're going to see how that goes through this show. So that is pretty much everything. George, are you ready? Let's get cracking.
Yeah, let's do it, Steve.
Well, I tell you what, there's only one place to start, and we're going to start with Roman Reigns. Now, it is through Sean's View Entertainment. I've seen it on a couple of other sources as well, including Inquisitor. Apparently, Roman Reigns had to apologise to the locker room. It was given an order by Triple H to apologise for everyone for actually, with the drug scandal and stuff like that. It's been speculated it could have been marijuana and Abadel as well, which apparently is to treat ADHD as well. So it's not very good really to know that Roman Reigns has done this. It's cost a lot in the company. But there is rumours as well that Vince McMahon is suggesting that this could be used into storylines, which we've seen on Raw this week already start. It was mentioned on Raw heavily. I was in massive favour of them doing that. That they could use this into a storyline when he comes back to then try and get him over with the universe. It kind of could be almost like a redemption storyline. George, what are your feelings on a lot of this?
Yeah, I just think sort of it's a real shame that Roman Reigns has obviously gone down this road in terms of the suspension. It's just a miracle, really, that they changed the belt. Clearly, they knew a couple of days before Money in the Bank, and they're able to act on that. Clearly, this whole suspension now is going to cost Roman Reigns $100,000. I really hope that he loses loses the ability to come back in such a high spot. Clearly, he's booked in the main event of Battleground already, which hopefully, I just hope he doesn't come back and they just don't take off where they left off previously, if that makes sense. He has to come back, and I think he has to earn the respect of the locker room again, so to speak. It's a real mistake on that part. It's just a bit funny and ironic that the guy that Vince McMahon pushed to be the next sort of saviour of the company has almost been found out now.
Yeah, it kind of feels like that indeed, but it seems from reading the reports and stuff that Roman Reigns is still going to be the guy going forward. They're not going to kind of waste all the time they've devoted in making him the guy that they've made him, and now, of course, it's not really clearly connected with the audience, but they feel that this redemption storyline could be the way to make it work. Like you say, if he comes back and doesn't win the belt straight away, and then he kind of has to prove himself, but still around that main event sort of spot, do you reckon it would work in the long term? I'm not so convinced myself. I think that this could lead to maybe some unpopular chants, and I think there's only one way really to go here. Reigns has to come back as a heel.
Yeah, I totally agree with that point, Steve. I think Reigns, as you said, he has to come back as a heel. For me, where I think there's a hole in this, the whole logic is people such as Adam Rose, although they were a lot low on the card, they got fired for such a similar act, if that makes sense, pretty much. It's not fair that just because Roman Reigns is the main event, he's almost getting this gold treatment. Do you think sort of Reigns will learn from this lesson and come back sort of a better wrestler, will he?
I think he will learn his lesson, definitely, because, of course, I mean, there were rumours, and I'm going to say loosely rumours because I don't exactly know the full truth in this, but I have read on the internet that apparently Vince McMahon at one point was just going to strip him of the title, like make him lose that Money in the Bank, and then continue as normal. It was only when it came out that with this Abadel that basically he had to have the 30-day suspension, and once it come out and become more public knowledge that there was no alternative. Now I'm hoping that that's not true, because like you say, someone like an Adam Rose and Connor of course is still with WWE but had to do a 60-day suspension. I don't think it's fair that certain superstars get different treatment to others, and I have questioned previously whether I think it was right that Roman Reigns was allowed to continue through the last pay-per-view anyway. Of course, it made logical booking sense and perhaps better to do something more exciting really on a TV prospect that Reigns lost, and lost cleanly and stuff like that. But you know, when it's your champion, I mean, maybe he should have been made much more of an example of, and maybe they should have instead had maybe Rollins involved with the Money in the Bank ladder match. Instead of it being the Money in the Bank, as they just cashed it in and got rid of it, maybe they could have just made it a ladder match for the championship instead.
Yeah, I think potentially. What's quite ironic though is the last time that somebody of such a high level did this was Rob Van Dam, and clearly because it was drugs, he got stripped of both the ECW title and the world title. Do you think sort of Roman Reigns just been suspended for a month's really quite soft? I think he should have been totally been dropped for the main event really. And if you look at it from a booking perspective, clearly not giving him any sort of credit or anything like that, it would have been much better to hold off this potential triple threat involving him to SummerSlam.
You would have thought so, yeah, I would agree with that, mainly because of the fact that now that we don't get the build-up, do we? This is the thing now, it's all now going to be revolved around Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins. Now, the other argument with this, or where you can kind of flip it, is that we've seen Ambrose and Rollins so many times before over the last 2 years. That feud has been heavily done. What we hadn't had as much of until recently was Reigns versus Ambrose in matches, although that's not really been a feud. It's been more linked with storylines of getting Reigns to the top, and just because Ambrose has been kind of trying to get to the same area, they've not really been in a rivalry as such. We've only just now finally got Rollins versus Reigns after 2 years. You just kind of feel that if we were going to get Ambrose versus Rollins for the third year in a row and in the summer pay-per-view, it just would have felt a bit flat again. So I think that's probably why WWE have kept along that angle, and maybe it would have been exciting, maybe had Raw gone on, that we would have got maybe different results. Maybe we could have had a different matchup, and it would have perhaps made Battleground seem more exciting with the build-up, because at the moment it feels to me like it could be a little bit lackluster without Reigns, knowing this triple threat match is still going to be the main event.
Yeah, I would agree with all them points. I think what you're looking at though at Battleground, it wouldn't surprise me if WWE arranged some sort of similar booking where two of the people could pin one person, which will lead on to a rematch at the following month. I think that's the way they're going to go down. This will be very reminiscent of the Undertaker versus Kane versus Stone Cold Steve Austin match, where Undertaker and Kane both pinned Steve Austin. I think it'll be something similar. I'm really confident that's what's going to happen. But no, hopefully Roman Reigns comes back. It'd be much better if he comes back as a heel, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to continue pushing him as a face, I believe.
Yeah, I believe that as well. And to be fair, as long as he learns from his mistake, and I actually, we give a bit of a bash him on this podcast, but I am a fan of Reigns. It's just I don't think he's necessarily handled correctly, and that's not his fault. Of course, what he's done is his fault. I mean, these guys are on the road about 300 odd days a year, so it's going to be very difficult, of course, to be able to maintain yourself, you know, to do such things that you're doing. But, you know, that's not the answer, and that's not the way around of doing it. And maybe this is a lesson that WWE should maybe take care of the talents a bit more, and then that way they wouldn't feel the need to go off and do this sort of stuff.
Yeah, potentially. Obviously, it's quite a hectic schedule. Currently, wrestlers mainly are sort of away from home predominantly 4 days a week, which is so much, if not more, with the house shows as well. So they come home on sort of a Wednesday morning, and they're going back again sort of Friday, if that makes sense. It just doesn't seem much of a reprieve from sort of the hectic schedule they currently endure.
No, definitely not. And with the tour of Japan this week as well, I mean, I looked at Dean Ambrose's schedule. I mean, he's got something like, I think, 6 or 7 different matches this week. And, of course, some of them have been in the States and some of them are in Japan. So, very, very crazy schedule indeed. Speaking of Japan, Bray Wyatt is not going to be on the Japan tour. Of course, we were heavily excited for the idea of Shinsuke Nakamura versus Bray Wyatt. That's not going to be happening now. In fact, instead on the cards, one card, I believe on the 1st of July, Nakamura will now be facing Chris Jericho, and on the second date, Nakamura will be facing Kevin Owens instead. Still very exciting matches. Just a shame it's not going to be on the WWE Network.
Yeah, it's just a shame, unfortunately. But Nakamura's already sort of made an impression on the main roster, so to speak, already. He's really started working for the main roster, but he just hasn't been on sort of mainstream TV other than NXT as of yet. But I think he'll get called up pretty soon.
Yes, it seems very imminent with the potential of the draft coming up, or certainly not far afterwards. But let's do Raw Revisited, George. I think definitely cover over Raw. And we've been mentioning about the Roman Reigns, and would they mention it on WWE programming? It was very good that they did, and I like the fact they went straight off the back. Seth Rollins mentioning how it was basically mocking the tweet, really, saying how he owns Roman Reigns and he doesn't deserve to be in a triple threat match after all. Stephanie McMahon, actually, when she came out, called it an embarrassment. We see Dean Ambrose come out and say, though, that Roman makes mistakes, and we all make mistakes. Hell, I was friends with you, and Seth, you wear skinny jeans, and that's a huge mistake. The triple threat is still on. We get AJ Styles coming out saying that he should replace Reigns for the triple threat match, but when said that Roman Reigns is still in the match, well, let's make it a fatal four-way. Cena comes out and calls himself the franchise. He's been everything else. He's the face that runs the place, and says, why not a fatal five-way? We said in the end, we kind of end up with Stephanie McMahon making 2 matches for the night. Cena versus Rollins and Dean Ambrose versus AJ Styles. If Cena and AJ win their respective matches, they are added to the Battleground main event. Stephanie McMahon as well said that she wished everyone good luck apart from Dean Ambrose. It seems that she's got a problem with Ambrose being the champion, but she didn't really explain why. Seems to be a bit of a weird moment, but maybe could be a direction of what's going to be leading into the draft, the brand split, and going forward. Would we see Dean Ambrose perhaps being on the same brand as Stephanie McMahon?
I think so. I think if you've been building that hatred already, clearly based on the history, it depends on how they're going to put Stephanie McMahon. Clearly, Stephanie McMahon throughout the show was going back from being a tween to heel. Certain promo segments she was shown as being a real heel. Other segments she was shown as almost being a face. It's very confusing the way they're currently booking her, but no, I do expect them two to be on the same brand. I'm going to guess now them two are probably going to be on Raw together. That's what I take a punt at now.
Yeah, it seems like it could go that way. We'll have to wait and see. But looking at the matches themselves, then we had John Cena versus Seth Rollins. Cena did look like he was going to pick that victory. Of course, we've already given the results really away, saying it's still going to be a triple threat match. So Rollins did pick up the victory, but Cena looked like he was going to have the win. But the club come out, they surround the ring, they distract John Cena, which then leads to Seth Rollins hitting the pedigree to pick up the victory. Did we think it was a good match? I thought it was okay, although John Cena did seem to miss a couple of clear strikes. He seemed to be miles off the pace in a couple of areas.
I thought it was a good match. The only real critical point I'll make is the fact that there was no reference to the broken nose John Cena previously had. There was no selling on that at all, which I thought was kind of bad, really. I thought they should have ultimately sold that, but no. Decent match. They got 17 minutes, and the 17 minutes they had, they sort of gave anything. It was pretty predictable, though. It's pretty obvious who was going over in this match.
Yeah, should it have been a bit more exciting? Should we have had a different outlook to the end of this?
Potentially. The thing is, though, they clearly just wanted to keep it as a triple threat, which if you don't want to jeopardise the main event of Battleground, it had to be like this. But no, it's okay. I would just like to see sort of these two. I'd like to see them have another match, really, but maybe without the interference. I'd like to see them just have a straight match, really.
Would be quite exciting. I mean, here's the other thing, though. Is this clever booking in a way from WWE? Because then we're not clearly focusing just on Ambrose and Rollins, and with Reigns out the picture, we're integrating other people into the storyline to sort of maybe get fresh matches. I mean, Ambrose versus AJ Styles is a first from what I can remember.
Yeah, I think it's clever to sort of involve everybody and try and get as many new matches as possible. But clearly, this was only Cena's second loss since Money in the Bank to his return. So they are keeping him still kind of strong. He didn't lose clean here either, which I thought was a good thing.
Yeah, definitely. Well, with the main event, then we had Dean Ambrose versus AJ Styles. We had Seth Rollins on commentary. We had the club come down to distract Dean Ambrose. Cena then came down to attack Gallows and Anderson, which distracted AJ Styles. We end up with a Dirty Deeds and a Dean Ambrose victory. Like you say, perhaps predictable at this point, especially knowing that Cena lost early in the night. There was no way one was going in without the other. So after the matchup, then we see Cena being attacked and beaten up all the way up to the ramp. We see Seth Rollins attacking Dean Ambrose in the ring, landing a pedigree. We then see a magic killer on Cena at the top by the entrance, and Seth getting the last laugh, I guess, with another pedigree, holds up the title, and he said, I remember him saying to Dean Ambrose as well, it's not good being attacked from behind, is it? So obviously, clearly, going back to Money in the Bank, they're using that. We see a club salute on the ramp as well, and he was basically standing tall at the end of Raw. Do you think it was a good way to finish? I thought it was a strong finish to the show.
Yeah, I think it was a strong way of putting the heels over. Ultimately, at the end of the show, it was clearly both of the matches that took place with the earlier match and this match, both were really, really good. It's good to see sort of, for once, it was almost like an actual main event level of a match for Raw. Usually Raw's main events previously have been sort of mid-carders in this type of role. But no, it was a really good match. Clearly, Seth Rollins was probably the highlight of the show for me.
Definitely, seems like he's really back on now, doesn't he? For me, almost like the top heel with the company again now.
Yeah, I think sort of clearly since he's come back, I don't know whether it's just sort of in ring, he seems a lot better, and clearly his promos before weren't that great, but he's really upped his game with his promo skills. Clearly his promos recently, week on week, have been spot on, really. They've been perfect, almost.
They have been, and to be honest, really, like you say, it feels like he's not missed a moment in the ring because, like, you see just certain things he's doing. The pedigrees are almost seamless, and the frog splash as well. It feels like I'm watching Eddie Guerrero at times. I'm going to make that slight comparison because he really has upped his game since coming back, Rollins. It's so nice to have him back on the roster, and he's definitely been on a level since coming back. But we'll look at the rest of the card then from Raw. We did see a tag team match, Paige and Sasha Banks against Charlotte and Dana Brooke. There was a Banks statement, so going back onto what we said last week, where the bank statement could have been not used anymore, according to rumours. Road Dogg actually did a tweet out saying that he'd never heard anything about it. It was news to him, and we see it now on Raw. Dana Brooke tapping out, and we see Paige give a kick as well to Charlotte on the floor to Big Pop, giving both of the faces a strong look there. How do we see this looking then as we go towards Battleground? Is Sasha Banks getting the title match now, or is it going to be held off till SummerSlam still, with maybe Sasha going against Dana Brooke?
I really thought they were going to do this tag match sort of at Battlegrounds. I was very surprised to see it on Raw, but no, it was a decent match. In terms of Battleground, I think you have to sort of delay the Charlotte-Sasha match until SummerSlam. Clearly, I think everyone's waiting to see it, and I think that's a match that needs to be at a high-level show rather than Battleground. Unless they do this match at Battleground. If that's the case, I think it'll end up as a no contest, which will further drag the feud on.
Definitely. I mean, one thing with Battleground, it seems like the matches are taking shape, definitely. And that's, I suppose, maybe one of the small grey areas. We don't quite know where it's going to go. I've seen a rumour on potentially Ric Flair making a return and possibly to be in the corner of Sasha Banks against Charlotte at SummerSlam. Now, is this something we really want to see? For me, I'm not so sure.
It's a bit of a twist, isn't it? But no, I'd be very surprised. I think the whole Ric Flair Charlotte thing has been done to death almost. So no, hopefully not. Hopefully Sasha Banks and Charlotte just have a clear match. I think the way it's going to end up ultimately is I think they want Sasha Banks to lift the title at SummerSlam. I think that's the big goal, which will be interesting. But no, Ric Flair coming back just to insert himself into this feud again. Clearly over WrestleMania, he almost ruined the whole triple threat match because he was just his presence outside was kind of distracting. But no, I think this match has to stay between these two only, ideally.
I completely agree with you. Titus O'Neil and Rusev have a match-up, and Titus O'Neil wins by count-out, a double clothesline again on the floor. They love that spot, don't they? It's followed by throwing Rusev over the rail into the timekeeper's area. What do we feel? There's going to be a match with these two, I believe, on Raw next week for July the 4th. United States Championship, of course, that is also America's Day as well. So how are we feeling about this? Is it dragging out too much? Is Titus O'Neil going to win?
I think it's going on a bit. Let's be honest, though. It was the good thing about this whole match was the fact that they didn't have Rusev lose clean. That could have been a big mistake. The fact they give Titus O'Neil a win, even by sort of count out, is quite a good thing. But no, I think clearly they're going to have the match this Monday, as you said. But this match this Monday, I don't see how it's going to end up. I reckon it's going to end up as a disqualification. Both these two are penciled in for a match at Battleground, supposedly, so I've been told today.
Yeah, I've read as well that potentially could be happening once again at Battleground, which would either mean that the rematch clause could be in for Rusev to go back at Titus, or like you say, a no finish on Raw and then a finish actually at Battleground. So we'll have to wait and see. Stephanie backstage then on Raw with Kane, and Kane still wants to be considered for SmackDown. It's not going to happen. She says that it's going to be her. The Miz and Maurice return, complaining about their lack of care on their return. There's no red carpet and stuff like that. Kane says if he was, though, the GM for Raw, or SmackDown, should we say, he said that he would have an issue that the Intercontinental Champion was away for a month, and that there should be a title match, and it should be tonight. Stephanie agrees and says the opponent will be a surprise. Now, I don't feel it was necessarily a surprise, but was it a real disappointment that it had to be Kane or Demon Kane? Especially when the last time Demon Kane was involved in WWE programming, he was fired as Demon Kane, and there's been no explanation of a return. What are your feelings, George?
Yeah, awful match. I think WWE really missed a trick here. Clearly, before this show, Finn Balor changed his subject rapidly, quickly within the same period. Basically, was tweeting saying he was going to be at this show. I think a lot of people thought, because it was a mystery person, that Finn Balor was going to debut here. Clearly, when Finn didn't come out, I think that ultimately killed the crowd here for this. They weren't ready for this match, and the match was awful. I think Demon Kane's been done to death, and I think the problem is, if you're looking at Demon Kane now to the old Demon Kane, they're just almost like night and day, really. Kane now has become nothing but sort of a laughingstock, really. He should be in the social outcast almost.
It really is a shame. It feels like there's almost time, isn't it, for Kane just to sort of hang up the boots now, unfortunately. And it's a shame because it's been a gimmick that's been so great over the years. But even to be used in the Intercontinental title, it just doesn't feel right. It's not the right place of the card. We don't want. I want Kane to be in sort of. Personally, I don't really want to see matches with the Big Show, but I may be people that are like that size and stature. You know what I mean? I want to see him help build these new big stars up for the future. I don't want to see him used in someone like The Miz, who's been involved with a lot of these sort of indie guy wrestlers, and they've brought some really good matches out with The Miz as well recently, and I didn't really want to see this. But, I mean, it did end up with a count-out win for Kane, so it looks like we are going to see this again. Maurice, awful acting, really, to be fair, pretending that she's hurt her ankle and then The Miz carrying her to the back. She then actually says that, like, she was acting backstage. Well, no shit, Sherlock. It was god awful. So yeah, we're probably going to see this again. I'm not looking forward to seeing it again, but we'll have to see what's going to happen in the near future. We'll look then next. Enzo and Bicaz, they beat basically two glorified jobbers within seconds. It's not a good way to see the jobbers defeated so quickly. I know it's nice to see the occasional jobbers match on Raw, but to be beaten within seconds just doesn't feel creditable at all. It makes you feel that Enzo and Bicaz have lost direction all of a sudden.
Yeah, I perfectly agree with that point. I think having a job match on Raw was like, this was just awful planning. I feel really sorry for Enzo and Kaz that you have to keep them strong, but I don't know why they couldn't have beat other people to make them stronger. Clearly, having two jobbers on there meant nothing, really.
Definitely not. And also now it looks like a program the Social Outcasts could be on the way. And there's, again, a very awkward line on Raw. They said that they are hard and looking for some action. It's just not. It's just awkward all round, really. That, but we'll have to see where that's going to lead to. But clearly, looks like an Enzo Bicaz victory, perhaps going forward when that eventually happens. And maybe this is just the lead into the brand split, and then maybe they'll have some clear direction after July 19th. But WWE partnership with the Special Olympics and the spreading awareness. Big Show and Renee Young giving a speech on behalf of the partnership. I thought it was a nice thing. It's good to see WWE in the community once again.
Yeah, it's good to see WWE they do so much charity work. It's good to see them get the credit for doing that, if that makes sense. Hopefully this all pays off. I really would have thought, though, the perfect person to sort of promote this almost would have been somebody like Darren Young with Bob Batten. I think that would have done quite well together.
Very interesting that you mentioned that. I mean, are we going to see them two on Raw or SmackDown anytime soon?
They're a bit like the new Golden Truth. It's going on and on and on and on. So hopefully soon. I think clearly I want to see the end of this, though. Clearly, I think Darren Young has to get some sort of push when he comes in, when he does eventually debut.
Unless he ends up on a main event like the Shining Stars, that shows how drag divisionettes don't always go well. But we'll look next then on Raw for Becky Lynch and Summer Rae. Natalya was on commentary. The match never happened. Natalya saying that she was tired of being a nice person and walked on. Becky was wrong place and wrong time and sick of miscommunication. Becky Lynch actually shows she is a last kicker. She's not really lived up to that tag very well. She just ditched the match and went straight to attack Natalya, and it kind of made me feel I want to see this match. It looks like we're going to get it at Battleground.
Yeah, it's nailed on for Battleground. I'm really intrigued to see which way it goes. I just hope that they build Becky Lynch to take the victory here. She needs to get some momentum back. She's been on not a very good run recently. Whenever it's come to pay-per-view, she's always seemed to drop the ball. It's about time she gets some momentum, get her back to where she was around WrestleMania time. I think that would be really good.
Definitely. We had a highlight reel as well to follow that. Chris Jericho was with Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. It didn't really make sense to have Jericho involved with these two, I thought, but it was still a fairly strong segment on Raw. How Jericho said that these guys are starting to ruin each other's lives and now starting to ruin mine, looking at the Money in the Bank ladder match, allowing Dean Ambrose to win. We see Owens and Zayn enter. Jericho goes over the history of the feud. Sami says to Jericho that he's trying to add fuel, which isn't working, but Sami wants one more match at Battleground, and he just wants to know why. He thinks it's because KO was jealous that he was signed to WWE first. KO said that it was best for my career. I've told you many times before, I was happy for you when you signed 18 months before me. When I signed and became NXT champ, you wasn't happy for me at all because it was at your expense. That makes me a better friend than you, and I accept your challenge at Battleground. Jericho says that Zayn is a bad friend and should be like Owens and should be in Jericho's shadow. He's saying that he's bigger than both of them, and it will actually elevate their stature by announcing this match on the highlight reel. And as he says, drink it in. Both of them super kick Chris Jericho, which I thought was a fantastic moment. And you see a stare down before Kevin Owens leaves the ring. Now, the thing for me is, of course, I could watch this match all day long, every single day of the week. But should this match be a gimmick match? I mean, there could be a suggestion that I'm going to throw out there a 2 out of 3 falls match, or even potentially a 30-minute Iron Man match would be amazing to watch. I just don't think they'd have the time to do a pay-per-view to have more than a 1 fall match. But would you prefer to see this one under a gimmick circumstance?
I think they need something like. I'd even like to see it sort of last man standing. Clearly, this is the final sin sum before both of them potentially split up and go on different brands. I'm interested to see what happens. I'd even like to see these two in a Hell in a Cell. Maybe I think that could really work.
I think definitely with this, it's not the last chapter ever with these guys. I think they're going to come back together in a world title picture somewhere, but it's the last time we're going to see them for now in the mid card. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see them again in the ring together in about a year or two time. But it's very exciting. And like you say, a gimmick match, any form of gimmick match, I think these two would make it work. I mean, you've seen spots they've done even in a ladder match. They've put some really sick moves together, and it could be, it could be very exciting, whatever they decide to put them in. But at the moment, it's just a singles match, so we have to wait and see what happens. And either way, I think it's still got potential to be a match of the year candidate, definitely. But moving on, in the meantime, Cesaro and Apollo Crews against Del Rio and Sheamus. I like the fact they kept up the dissension between Del Rio and Sheamus all the way through the match. We see Del Rio slap Sheamus around the face in form of a tag, and that's followed by that Inseguri move. Apollo Crews takes control, and it's the spin round power bomb. We see Del Rio watch from the stage, just ditching Sheamus in the match. So, what were your thoughts with this? I thought it was a weird pairing of Cesaro and Apollo Crews. It was a weird match to put together, but actually it didn't turn out too bad. But how do we feel it's going to go from here? Do we feel that actually Sheamus is still going to face Crews and Del Rio Cesaro, or is this going to be where Apollo Crews, not Apollo Crews, should I say, Del Rio and Sheamus actually will take over and have their feud at Battleground?
Potentially, I thought this was a very average match. I was very disappointed to see Sheamus and Del Rio together with no explanation. Clearly, people, I believe, want to cheer Del Rio as a face, so tagging him with Sheamus doesn't really work. Clearly, when you look at the history of the League of Nations, it was a disaster, and clearly that was only 5 weeks ago. To go back to this with no explanation, almost like there's been no time since, was just a big howl on WWE's part. But no, didn't like this. I thought the only wrestler that came up with any sort of credit in this match, so to speak, really was Apollo Crews. That clearly they're getting behind him. Him getting the victory now on Sheamus is quite a big win for him, I think, at this point, even though Sheamus is reduced to a jobber, so to speak.
Certainly. Well, should we throw out a little SmackDown spoiler very quickly?
Go for it.
Speaking of these four, they will all be in a fatal four-way match on SmackDown this week to determine a number one contender for the US title. So all four of them will be in the opening contest of SmackDown this week. So keep an eye. It's not a bad match. I think it's actually quite a strong match, actually. Checking it out already. It's definitely one worth watching. Perhaps for me, the highlight of SmackDown this week. So not a bad match. But anyway, we're going for the New Day, mocking the Wyatt family, coming out dressed as them. It was very interesting, though. We see, actually, they were dressed as Wyatt, Rowan and Harper rather than Strowman. That was a little bit of a muck-up, but still, I like the idea of how it was. The Wyatts interrupted and said that, remind me how the power positivity can help a man who's lost his job and put food on the table. The power positivity is a lie. The Wyatts actually questioned Woods, who seems worried again, and the Wyatts, of course, saying that New Day falls. We see a backstage promo afterwards where Woods is still worried and kind of walks away from a mocking New Day on the Wyatt family. Is it interesting, this, or is it not interesting? Because I think it's become slightly more interesting than what it was at the start. I was kind of horrified that these two were going to be paired together at the beginning, but it doesn't seem so bad now.
Yeah, if you take out sort of the whole tag team, in terms of the Wyatt tag team that are going to fall potentially in this match, that part's not so good, but the actual storyline where you've got Xavier Woods almost being under control by Bray Wyatt, I'm really looking forward to seeing how that plays out. It almost reminded me back to Papa Shango with his old voodoo. I think that clearly there's something going on there which they can do loads with. I just hope at the end of this it leads to something. I don't see the belts changing with this, though, but I do see potentially Xavier Woods doing something. Do you reckon they'll potentially take him out of the New Day and turn him heel, maybe? I think it's a massive move to do, though. If they do. Maybe he's going to change brands as well, potentially.
We'll have to wait and see. I mean, maybe they are linking towards something here, because the New Day would still be a tag team, perhaps with Kofi and Big E being the tag team champions if they do split them up. I don't know. I just think if it's not broke, don't fix it. I would not like to see them break up at the moment. They're clearly over. I mean, I'm not always a massive fan of them. I've said that on this, but they are over with people. And if they're over, keep it going, you know. And I think they should just lose the belts soon. I think that's the only thing they need to do with the New Day. But personally, for me, I would get through this one hurdle, and then perhaps at SummerSlam they take on Gallows and Anderson for the tag team belts, and then that's when they lose the belts. That would be my choice if I was to be booking this.
Yeah, I like that. I think you have to push Gallows and Anderson back, really. It needs to be sort of that level, if that makes sense. But no, I think the way they could lose the belts, if they are going to lose it, clearly you've got to do something with Xavier Woods now. There'll be no point of them building up this whole Xavier Woods being quiet and reserved if it's not going to lead somewhere. Hopefully they do something. It turns out that it's just normal when he comes back 1 week, next week he's all happy partying again, then it's been a waste of time for 2 weeks, unfortunately.
Yeah, it seems that way, but we'll see as it develops anyway. It's a storyline in movement, so hopefully it's going to go better as it progresses. But George, you wanted to give some news on Brock Lesnar on returning as we've now closed Raw visited. What is the latest update on the Beast?
Yeah, Brock Lesnar is scheduled to return on the 19th of July SmackDown Draft Show in Worcester, Massachusetts. Apparently, that's a change that's just been announced recently. He wasn't going to be back to a few weeks later, so we are going to see him next month, which is quite exciting.
It's very interesting because I've seen that report as well, and of course I only commented last week how that was a false rumour. It's very strange how the rumour come out, then it was shot down, and now it seems to be back on again. So I personally would like to see Brock there. I mean, of course he's got his UFC fight coming not this weekend but next weekend, and of course we'll be covering that as well. How do you think Brock is going to fare in that UFC fight? Do you think he's going to win, or do you think he's going to get battered by Mark Hunt?
I'm not too sure. The problem with Brock, he was very sort of up and down in UFC. Clearly, he won the title very quickly, but then he got totally owned by Cain Velasquez. It depends, really. It depends. Going from wrestling to mixed martial arts is such a big, different way of battle, if that makes sense. I just hope that that he can do both. Clearly, I hope he's fit enough to be able to go into a match at SummerSlam, whoever he's going to face, potentially.
Well, the rumour at the moment is that it could be Kevin Owens. So that is the idea, that it could be Kevin Owens. Now, would you like to see that match?
I think that could be fantastic, but then you need to really build Kevin Owens up. The only concern I have is you're going to have Brock Lesnar, so he's always been sort of unmovable, unstoppable, so to speak. You need somebody sort of that level, unless you're going to build Kevin Owens up over the next few weeks and make him unstoppable, then no, probably not. It's probably not going to work, I don't think.
The thing for me is, I mean, I'm very excited of seeing that potentially match happen, but at the same time, if you see Heyman and Owens on the mic, I mean, how glorious that would be, but I'm just not sure that Owens is ready for that level just yet. For me, if I was to have Brock Lesnar face someone at SummerSlam, I think a returning Randy Orton would be the option. And now the news is that Randy Orton, it was supposed to be due back late August. Now he's been advertised, I believe it's August the 12th or 13th. The return of Randy Orton is a house show that we've seen him advertised for, and it's probably going to be on Raw or SmackDown probably a week or two before that. So it seems that his return is imminent according to the Wrestling Observer. So are we looking forward to seeing Randy Orton come back?
Certainly. So Orton's obviously been away for a while, but he has been back in training now, sort of for about a month. So I'm interested to see what he does. When he does come back, though, do you think he'll come back as a face or heel?
Well, this is the thing. This is why I would have him come back as a heel, because obviously Brock is now looking to face heels a lot of the time. The match with Bray Wyatt that was rumoured is potentially scrapped once again. And for me, a returning Orton, this is a match we've always wanted to see. Brock Lesnar's contract comes up in next April, which I believe WWE wants to renew that. But of course, they're going to have to sit Brock down and perhaps I'll throw a lot more money at him once again. Is it going to happen? Isn't going to happen? That's the question. So, I mean, it's a match we must see before Lesnar leaves, is Lesnar versus Orton, because we've never seen it where both men are at a high caliber on the card. Like Orton was, I believe, at the time on SmackDown, more a jobber, you know, spending more time on Velocity rather than actually on SmackDown brand at the time. So for me, it's a match I would like to see happen, particularly even if Brock actually lost the UFC fight. The storyline would write itself if Orton come back and attack Lesnar, saying, you know, you're making kind of WWE look worse off than UFC by going into the Octagon and losing. You know, could you imagine how that would perhaps play out as a storyline? It would be very intriguing, I think.
Yeah, it would be intriguing. I'm intrigued to see whether they go back to almost Dean Ambrose versus Brock Lesnar. Now Dean Ambrose has got a push all of a sudden. Now he's got the belt. I'm intrigued to see whether Brock Lesnar demands a rematch. Clearly, Brock Lesnar killed him at WrestleMania ultimately laid him out. Do you think that'll be a match you'd like to see again, potentially, if they're on more of an equal level this time?
Not right now, for the same reason as Kevin Owens. Although I believe they'd make great matches and perhaps good entertainment building up, the match itself just was not. At the moment, Lesnar's too much of the guy that's seen that he destroys everybody. Now, if he loses this UFC fight, then perhaps he might lose the momentum and WWE might drop the ball on Lesnar and he will start losing matches. But until people are seen as on his level, I think you can only put Lesnar against these big name people. Like if Goldberg comes back, it seems credible to do that match again because of the fact that Goldberg would come in seen as on an equal level. Orton, although he's perhaps not seen as an equal level, his status and legacy in WWE makes him that equal level. So it kind of feels more creditable to do, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'd quite like to see, this may sound crazy, I'd quite like to see Brock Lesnar facing Roman Reigns. I think them two together could do a really good match.
There's unfinished business. There was never a clear winner at WrestleMania 31, so I think it's a match that needs to happen. I think ultimately that's the man that that Lesnar's meant to lose to, I think, with all this beast kind of feel going forward. He's the guy that kind of was supposed to be built up to make them Reigns the man. So we'll have to wait and see if that still is the case or if now Cena's going to do the job instead. But time will tell. Speaking of John Cena, we said he was going to be linked with SmackDown, but he's not been advertised for any SmackDowns going past after the draft at the moment. In fact, he's actually advertised for Raw events. So potentially we could be seeing John Cena on Monday Night Raw.
Oh, it'd be interesting to see what happens, but you never know. The office could always swerve us at any moment.
It seems that it could happen at any way, shift or form. But we're going to be covering the draft in about 5 minutes' time. So we'll continue the rest of the news. CM Punk on whether he would wrestle again. He said that I don't think so, but it's one of those things, never say never. I like to cover all my bases in case some internet dweeb, who are you calling that, is going to be like, you said you'd never wrestle again. But WWE, no, absolutely not. But you never know. I could pop up here and there. Let me explain that to you even better. It's not even going to be televised. It's going to be me in a ninja outfit wrestling one of my buddies that no one's ever going to know. So it's going to be very Monty Python, so to speak. So that's kind of perhaps CM Punk's visual if he would actually move involved with wrestling again. He did actually say this when he appeared on ESPN's Rosillo and Cannell show today when he was commenting on it. And he did comment on Daniel Bryan as well, retiring from the ring, said it's more important than City Pro Wrestling, and he's just glad that Bryan is alive and well. So what's your thoughts on CM Punk's latest comments with returning to the ring?
Never say never, as you said. With CM Punk, he went away with such hatred for sort of the whole McMahon family. I can't see him ever coming back, really, unless the money's there. You never know, though. We never thought Bret Hart was going to come back to WWE, and he did. So money can do a lot of things, can't it?
It certainly can indeed. And speaking of money, wrestling is different avenues of people wanting to make new dreams and aspirations. We've started this SCW with the YouTube channel, just trying to make it as big as we can, just to get the news out there and to give our viewpoints on it, and hopefully people care what we do, George. Now, one group, should we say, is Whatculture Wrestling. Now, Whatculture on YouTube, the last I looked at this morning, over 750,000 subscribers on YouTube. Now, they actually produced their first ever wrestling show, WCPW, which was then their loaded show, was put onto YouTube this week. George, did you get a chance to check it out at all?
No, I didn't, unfortunately. I imagine, though, it must have been something quite good to watch.
Well, I must admit, the show itself obviously has flaws, but this is what I'm going to say is my pros for it, is that this is obviously, with so many subscribers, I've got quite a lot of local wrestlers on this, so this gives them some big exposure, would you not say?
Yeah, I think so. Clearly, the webpage and the whole thing, the whole background of that brand, it's got such a big building brand. It's interesting to see them go into the wrestling market, though. Clearly, in Britain, there is a huge vacancy, in my opinion, for a company sort of to be almost a juggernaut. Clearly, WWE have got the monopoly of the market when they come on their international tours here, and they get such drawing, such money from it. It's a shame nobody else really can replicate something similar based out of Europe.
Definitely. Well, I mean, you look at then Whatculture. I mean, we've got Adam Pacitti as the general manager, which was part of that. We had King Ross and Simon Miller, who were fantastic on commentary. For nothing else, watch this for its commentary. The matches perhaps are not all that great. For me, the highlight would have been El Ligero versus Martin Kirby. It was more of a comedy match, but it was done pretty well. Other wrestlers involved on the card were Joe Hendry, Big Damo, Prince Amin, Joe Kofi. We see Alex Gracie, Gabriel Kidd on the card as well. So plenty of names there on the UK circuit. But we know for the next tapings and the next shows, we can expect people like Douglas Williams, Will Ospreay, and Damien Sandow for the next ones, as well as Rampage Jackson, who was on attendance on that first show as well, ripping up the cardboard belt, as we know that there's going to be an actual World Heavyweight Championship a part of that brand. How big can this go? Can this get as big as, like we say, like a big UK company outside of America?
Potentially. It's all down to the funding, though. Ultimately, if they've got money behind them, clearly drawing wrestling in this country, it's a mixed market, really. The main way companies draw money as such is by bringing on imports, ex-WWE stars. Like, clearly, where I live, down in the southwest of England, there's a promotion called Pride Pro Wrestling, and their main drawing is basically bringing people such as Adam Rose, Cody Rhodes, people that have made it in WWE previously. I think without the international stars, although you're going to have Douglas Williams, ex-TNA, I think they need to bring over foreign wrestlers to have any chance of being a success. I've got to be honest with you. I don't think the British scene is big enough on its own to continue to pack out and make a large income for it to sustain itself permanently.
No, perhaps not. But then with the likes, like we say, Damien Sandow being on the next show, it certainly is exciting there because he was only in WWE just a few months ago. And I mean, Noam Dar has been involved in tapings with them as well. And he's a part of the Cruiserweight Classic as well, Scottish wrestler. And apparently, as well, there are rumours he's expected to potentially be signed from the Cruiserweight Classic into WWE. Apparently, he actually retweeted a tweet from, I believe it was the Scottish Suns, suggesting that he was going to sign with WWE. So it's very exciting stuff, and for me, I hope it works for them. I really do. I give the support out there. There has also been rumours I've seen today that Paige's family are looking to bring back wrestling back to British primetime TV. Again, like you say, there's a gap in the market. Do you think Paige's family would be good at bringing that back?
You never know. I think the Knight Family, I don't know if you ever saw the Channel 4 documentary, Behind the Knight Family. That was a fantastic watch. And clearly, they're sort of a family that have had a history in wrestling. So I'd quite like to see them. If anybody can do it, I think they can. Clearly, they've brought over people before, such as Scott Hall and other people to appear in their shows when they're based out of Norwich. But never say never. I think there's certainly a market and an open door there for wrestling to come back on TV. British wrestling, certainly, as well. It'd be nice to see something on mainstream TV.
Certainly, indeed. I would like to have it back as well because I remember growing up as a child watching it on TV, terrestrial TV, ITV, when I was a young kid. So I believe it was WCW at the time as well. So very fun to watch, and it'd be very open to having it back as well. Move on to Lucha Underground news. We don't often cover a lot of Lucha Underground, but I'd definitely like to hear because Dave Meltzer noted on the Wrestling Observer Radio that it's been reported that Lucha Underground star Prince Puma, also known to wrestling fans as Ricochet, has finished up with Lucha Underground after the last set of tapings. He's done with the company, and it's also said that his status with Lucha Underground could change in the future depending on when or if the company tapes a fourth season. As far as whether or not he'll be making the jump to WWE, it doesn't look like it'll be happening anytime soon because of contractual obligations prevent him from signing from the company at the moment. But Ricochet is taking independent bookings throughout the fall, and is also the plan with New Japan Pro Wrestling sometime in the future. It is speculated, though, by Meltzer that he could end up in WWE in 2017. Now, what are your thoughts on this? Because he's a very exciting talent. He was the first ever Lucha Underground World Heavyweight Champion. Whether he's under the Prince Puma character or as Ricochet, I mean, of course, the match with Will Ospreay recently got well, either rave reviews or perhaps not rave reviews if you're Vader, but definitely certainly a mixed reaction. Would you like to see Ricochet in WWE? Personally, I would. I think his legs are almost like elastic at times, the way he works around the ring.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I really could see him in WWE. I'd quite like to see him in a program with somebody like Neville. I think them two could do some fantastic work together. It'd be great to see WWE relaunch the Cruiserweight division other than this tournament. Hopefully from this tournament, they'll actually bring the title back, and that could be on one of the brands, fingers crossed.
Hopefully, indeed. Do you think it's a big blow, though, for Lucha Underground to lose one of their top stars?
Yeah, it's obviously a big loss, but then WWE are on the aggressive at the moment. They are attacking lots of other promotions trying to get their talent. They've obviously been sniffing around Ring of Honor as well recently, trying to get talent. It's all to do with the brand split. They're clearly trying to backfill the roster, so there's enough people on it. But no, I think it's interesting. Let's hope Lucha Underground can recover from this.
Certainly indeed. We're speaking quickly on the roster potential returns to the company. It is through allwrestlingnews.com that two names that we can confirm now that won't be rejoining are Jeff Hardy and Rey Mysterio. Certainly not returning anytime soon anyway. They've not been contacted. Do you think they could be contacted in the future, or do you think this is like a smokescreen? There are rumours as well of Kurt Angle. I mean, we've been over this where he was going to be joining, said he was going to be joining, and then WWE said that they have not contacted him, are not interested in actually having him back for the draft. And now we've seen that potentially a rumour that this could be a smokescreen just to cover up for when Kurt Angle does return, potentially involved with the draft, or more likely when it goes towards the next WrestleMania.
Okay, to answer your first point, Rey Mysterio and Jeff Hardy, I don't think the reason why they can't be signed currently is the fact they're both under contract. So we can't break that contract. That's what's stopping them there. But in terms of Kurt Angle, if by some reason Kurt Angle does come back, it's only really going to happen in July. And the only reason why it will happen is if there's a swerve by WWE. Clearly, they've made it clear they're probably not going to sign him. But no, the main reason why they haven't gone for Kurt Angle so far is WWE don't really want to risk anybody that might cause controversy. Clearly, after the recent news stories with Roman Reigns, Jerry Lawler and Adam Rose, they don't want any drama, basically. So Kurt Angle will only come in, really, if he's going to come in with no baggage. But hopefully, I'd quite like to see him back. I'd quite like to see him managing somebody like American Alpha. I think that could work really well. Even back in the ring, though, if his body allows it.
Certainly, indeed, and definitely there's a lot of matches we could definitely see Kurt Angle involved with. It would be lovely to see. The Rock, we're going to be talking about Dwayne Johnson. He's to receive a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Congratulations to The Rock. Well deserved, don't you think? He's involved with a lot of Hollywood stuff now.
Congratulations to The Rock, as you said. I think fair play to him. He always seems to be in films, always in work, so fair play to him. Well deserved.
Definitely indeed. So you wanted to mention pay-per-views quickly, George, before we go on to explain the draft to everybody.
Yeah, so apparently there has been rumours going around this week that by 2017, WWE are hoping to run 20 pay-per-views a year. What do you think of that, Steve, so far?
Far too many. I did see the report today. I'm most intrigued what they're going to do on the Money in the Bank month. Because if there's going to be a pay-per-view on side of that, is there going to be two Money in the Banks, or are they going to ditch that and put that on a WrestleMania again and have just two separate pay-per-views? It's interesting. They're going to have a reshuffle, definitely, but it could be exciting to see what pay-per-views could come back. But it's almost going to be borderline impossible. A lot of people are saying it's impossible to review all this wrestling that we're going to get thrown in front of us. It's almost like a full-time job just to watch professional wrestling these days.
Yeah, so the plan is 20 pay-per-view shows per year in 2017, with two Sundays every month, except for January, March, August, November, which will be one-show months. Apparently, it's also going to establish the Survivor Series as one of the big four, which will be great to sit back in that category, because clearly it hasn't been there in a decade. But no, I don't know if this can work. Clearly, with declining pay-per-view numbers, unless WWE's roster gets stronger and the booking gets better and the storytelling gets better, I think it's just greedy. Clearly, I think it's too much. I think in the old days when we had minimal pay-per-views, I think it used to be okay. But then clearly we've gone up and up and up now. When you've got your network specials filling in gaps, I think too much pay-per-views. I think it's better to have less than more, so to speak.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that, totally. For me personally as well, I mean, the rumours are they're going to have like their own writing teams, Raw and SmackDown. They're going to have their own look like with the rings. Obviously, we're probably going to get the red ropes for Raw, the blue for SmackDown. The referees are going to be dressed differently, so we're probably going to get the blue dressed referees on SmackDown again with the same look on Raw. Apparently, there is rumour that the staging is going to be different. Now, I'm not promising a SmackDown fist just yet, but there are rumours that there could be a change in the works with how the arenas look as well, so that could be quite exciting to see. Of course, we've now got the World Heavyweight Championship, or the WWE World Heavyweight Championship is now being referred to on Raw as the WWE Championship again, which suggests we are going to get a World Heavyweight Championship title perhaps for the blue brand or for the opposite brand, so we know that as well. Also, the general managers, the GMs, are going to be known as the Chief Operating Officers, so they're going to be the COOs as well. So that's everything that we currently know of latest updates with revolving to the draft split. Now, George, is there any more news that we've not covered on before we do our take on the draft?
No, I think that's basically all that's happened so far. There's nothing else that's really gone on so far, but no, we can go forward with that.
Well, let's explain then the draft, because what we understand is we've seen a lot of things on YouTube, a lot of things on the internet, people just having random drafts. Now, we're going to have our take on it, but we're going to do where we think it's going to be legitimately on Raw, because we see, like with the past draft, the 2002, we see the podiums, they're there, so we're probably going to learn next week or two who will be running Raw, who will be running SmackDown. Now, previously, I did a video on YouTube, George, and my suggestion is that if things go to the way I believe they're going to go, Stephanie's going to be arguing with Dean Ambrose a lot. We've also seen Chris Jericho and Shane McMahon last week, where Jericho said he didn't want to be in the same show as Shane, which suggests perhaps that he will be on Shane's show. Now, Jericho has been advertised for SmackDown going forward, so does that mean Shane will be running SmackDown and Stephanie will be running Raw? It's just potentially a teasing idea, but it's just going basically on the basis of that maybe link that could be the way it could go. But either way, we're going to learn in the next couple of weeks who is going to be running which show. So here's the magic question, George, when we do our draft in a minute. The rules are going to be as follows. The champions were excluded, apart from the Intercontinental and the IC titles, in the last draft. So how we're going to handle that is if one of us picks one of them, the other member automatically gets that champion. So if you pick The Miz, for example, for the Intercontinental title, I automatically will get Rusev, the United States champion, on my show. So that way those belts are separated. But the WWE Champion, the Women's Champion, and the Tag Team Champions, which means Dean Ambrose, Charlotte, and the New Day, are excluded from this draft purely because they are going to be spread over both shows. They'll be able to make appearances on Raw and SmackDown. So the question I have to ask to you, George, is: are you going to be Raw or are you going to be SmackDown?
I'm going to go Raw.
You're going to go Raw. Fantastic. Do you know what? I'm wearing blue because I had a funny feeling I might get the blue brand, and I've always been quite a fan of SmackDown, so I'm very happy with that arrangement. Now, we did discuss offline that you were going to have the first draft pick, George, and just to give a little bit of fighting talk is that I want to pick second, and I still think I can pick the best roster. But what we're going to do is we're going to pick the rosters then. We're going to have 25 people. We're going to have 25 picks each. We're going to have 15 superstars, 5 tag teams and 5 women's wrestlers to compile the rosters up. That's the rules that we're going to apply into this. And at the end of this, we're going to give you the 2 rosters. And for your feedback, guys, we want to know who you think has got the better roster. Is it Raw or SmackDown? Who will you like to tune in and see more? So without further ado, that is the rules. That's how it's going to be. So we're going to pretend that this is July 19th. And George, you are on the podium for Raw. And who is going to be your first draft pick and why?
Seth Rollins. He's the future of the company. Clearly, he's got it all. He's one of the best workers in the company. He's a great promo, and they've got potential if they give him the right gimmick for him to sort of lead the company in the future, I believe.
It's a fantastic draft pick, and I'm not going to lie to you. If I had the choice, he would have been my first draft pick as well. But fair play to you for picking him first, because I don't blame you for picking him at all. For me, then, I think my first draft pick, I think there only is about 2 or 3 big names that you can really think that would establish it. And I think that the first one I have to pick, although he's not there all the time, I think he's going to be there some of the time. And when he's there, he makes an impact. Brock Lesnar will be my first draft pick. He is the beast after all, and he does bring ratings, and people always get excited to go to Suplex City. So who is going to be your number 2 draft pick, George?
Fantastic pick of Brock Lesnar. Great choice. I probably would have gone from next, but no, my next pick, it has to be one and only. I'm going to have to go for Dean Ambrose.
He would be excluded, though, from this. He's currently WWE Champion.
Sure, okay. Well, we won't take Dean Ambrose. Okay, my next pick would have been, then I would have gone for AJ Styles.
Oh, very interesting. AJ Styles. And your choice for AJ Styles?
AJ Styles would be on Raw, and I think he would come in as we'll keep him the same gimmick. The reason why I would choose AJ Styles is instantly he's on that cusp. Every match he's had so far has been gold. Him and Seth Rollins, I think, could do a real good program together. Clearly, if you turn one of them face, if that makes sense.
Definitely, very exciting stuff indeed. And do you know what? A dream match there could be on Raw. There's Seth Rollins versus AJ Styles. So, fantastic draft pick. I would have loved him, but definitely don't think he would have been my second pick. My second pick is going to be, well, I'm going to go for someone that's not a good guy. I'm going to go for someone that's not a bad guy. I'm thinking about the guy. I think we need to have Roman Reigns as the second draft pick. Now, the reason I'm going for Roman Reigns is not because I'm his biggest fan. I'm certainly not his biggest fan, but I do think he put on great matches. I personally think as well that he is going to be star power. I think he's ratings in the making, and there we have the potential future WrestleMania main event and rematch of Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. So Roman Reigns is my second pick.
Excellent pick. My next pick has to be one and only. I don't know if this will go down well. John Cena. He's still one of the most over people in the company. He still carries the company so well. And I think he's probably got one of the best promos in the company. So I'm going to have to go for John Cena.
Fantastic. I would have gone for him next just purely because of the star power element. I think that he would be definitely good to have on your roster. I think looking then for next, who would I go for next? Do you know what? I'm going to look for the future next. I'm going to pick my favourite wrestler on the roster right now. It's got to be the one and only Mr. Kevin Owens is going to be my third draft pick because Owens, you know, I think he has it all, and I think in the future he's going to be a WrestleMania main eventer. So Kevin Owens is my third draft pick.
Great pick. I would have gone for him. So I'm going to have to follow this up with a bit of a shock. I'm going to go in for none other than Randy Orton. I think Randy Orton clearly is still up there. When he comes back, he's an unknown quantity, so to speak. If he can come back with the right gimmick, clearly he could be near the top of the card quite quickly.
Yeah, I agree. I think Randy Orton is a fantastic draft pick. I was debating whether to have him next, so I think you've done good there getting the Viper in there nice and early. I'm then going to look then for... I think I'm going to go outside of the box. This is going to be the first time that we're going to go outside of the WWE current rosters, and I'm going to look to NXT. I think that this next person has the potential to be a main eventer as well. And I think as well he's causing headwaves down there. He's going to be the main guy. I'm going to go with Shinsuke Nakamura. Now, he is lacking on the mic work, but everything else, charisma, in-ring work, he has got it all. And he is currently, in my mind, still involved in the match of the year. So Shinsuke Nakamura is my next draft pick.
Great pick, fantastic pick. My next one is going to be none other than Sami Zayn. Clearly, Sami Zayn, the company man. Clearly, he's destined for good things. The underdog comes good. I think clearly the people that I've got on the roster, he can have decent matches with all of them so far.
Definitely you can have great matches with all of them. There's no question with that. So the next question then simply would be who I got. And you know, I do have the roster in front of me, and I think there is potentially 2 or 3 big names that could still be picked here amongst that lot. But I'm going to go back to... Oh, no, do you know what? I might not. I'm torn on 2 here. I am very much torn on 2 out of 3. Oh. I'm going to have to go for someone that I think is going to main event. I'm not going to go for someone who I don't think is going to main event. Someone that's got the potential, still not been wasted in WWE, is from NXT, and it's Mr. Finn Balor. He's got to be there. He's my next draft pick.
Very, very good pick. My next pick, this is one of 2. I'm very hard. I'm actually going to go in for none other than, I think, I'm going to have to go in for Enzo and Big Kaz. Can I go in as Enzo as a single, or do I have to stay as a tag team?
In theory, if you want, you can break them up if you want.
I would go with Enzo. Clearly, on his own, he's the most, potentially on the microphone, he's one of the most over people in the tandem. I will take them actually as a tandem because they obviously have good chemistry together. So I'm going to take Enzo and Kaz as my next pick, if I may.
No, you may do indeed, because, well, why not have the both of them? Because there's always, they could break up. You never know. Yeah. So, it could happen. Well, I tell you what, I'm very relieved you did not actually go for who I wanted, because there was 2 that I wanted, and that then means I'm going to have to go straight in for him. It's Mr. Bray Wyatt will be my next draft pick, because for character, he has everything to be the next Undertaker Kane-esque kind of character. I think amongst the roster I've currently got, I think he'll fit in very well as well.
Excellent pick. My next one, unsurprising, none other than Cesaro. I think Cesaro, clearly with the wrestlers I've got, would work with all of them. I think he'd be a really good pick, a great technician. I'd love to see him at that sort of get that push, that level he deserves, really.
Do you know what? I'm absolutely gutted, mainly because I have Ronaldo on the commentary desk. There'll be no more. There ain't no party like an uppercut party. I feel I've let him down. But an uppercut party does not stop. But we'll look then no further than for our next draft pick. And we've not picked anyone else yet outside of the... Well, you've picked a tag team. We've not picked any women yet. So I think I'm going to have to pick my first female on the roster. And it is going to be none other than the boss. Sasha Banks is going to be coming to SmackDown.
Oh, good pick. I really rate that. That's a very good pick. I am going to go for somebody that's maybe gone under the radar. It's one of 2 people that I've weighed this up now. I have got it down to this one. I think I'm going to have to do, based on star power now solely, Chris Jericho. I think following his victory at WrestleMania over AJ Styles, clearly if he could build the momentum, he has been on a bit of a losing streak, but I think he could do something. So I'm going to go for Chris Jericho as well. A
fantastic choice there, Chris Jericho. Definitely was one of my next ideal picks there on the roster, because... I think he has it all, really. But yeah, you've got one in there, and at fair play, that's all I can say. But then looking then for the following pick for myself, I'm going to go and take a championship. I think it's time that one of these champions comes over to SmackDown. And I could go for someone from Hollywood, but do you know what? I have a bit of a soft spot for Lana, so it's going to have to be Ruru himself. Rusev, the United States champion, is coming to SmackDown.
Great pick, very good pick. That leaves it down to sort of another tag team. We haven't explored NXT too much, apart from you earlier. So the tag team I'm going for now, unsurprisingly, I think they could do quite well with Enzo and Big Kaz. I really like to see this on the main stage. None other than American Alpha. Fantastic pick. Yeah, that was probably my next pick there. So it's a good choice you've just got there. So all I can say is fair play on that one. But well, if I've picked one female, I need to get another one in, and I think I need to get hold of her very quickly before I know I lose her. So she is potentially going to be as big as John Cena when it comes to merchandise and to role models. It can only be Bayley coming to SmackDown when she comes to the main roster. She has got certainly some great in-ring work as well, and we can also relive the match from TakeOver Brooklyn, which should be Sasha Banks versus Bayley from last year. We can redo it on the main roster. Fantastic pick. Fair play, mate. I recommend that pick as a great pick. My one, I am going back to NXT yet again. It's down to one or 2 people. I'm going to have to go for Austin Aries. I think he's coming on the main roster. It's going to happen soon. Clearly, with his background in TNA, this guy has got so much potential. He could instantly be sort of a main eventer with 3 or 4 months build if he's built correctly. He certainly could, and that means if you're going to go and take him from NXT, I'm going to have to take someone else from NXT. Mr. Bobby Roode is coming to SmackDown. That's right. Great pick. I didn't see that one coming. Very outside the box. I'm also going back to NXT now. Pretty unsurprisingly, this man, current NXT champion, unless I'm mistaken, none other than Samoa Joe.
Yeah, Samoa Joe is indeed NXT champion, and I think it's definitely going to be very handy to have on the main roster. Very looking strong at the moment, the Raw brand at the moment, I'd say. I definitely think there's going to be some formidable competition there for us. So I'm going to have to pick my next choice very wisely. Looking through right now, I've got the roster up in front of me. Have you got the roster as well in front of you, George?
Yeah, I've got a roster here for who I've had a bit of a hit list, and I'm just sort of taking out who you've got so far within reason.
Well, I tell you what, at the moment, I feel like I'm leaving a bit of space open for you to take some more of the male roster areas. I mean, you seem to be as well dominating perhaps some of the tag team areas, but I'm making sure I'm definitely getting some of the female wrestlers in to have the strongest female division going. So Paige is going to be my next pick for the draft there. So definitely got a UK flavour, so we've got some more international flavour on SmackDown, and I think she'll be very handy in the women's division. Charlotte will be spending a lot of time on the blue brand as champion coming down to defend her belt.
Great pick. To go with my pick of AJ Styles earlier, I am going to go for the club.
The tag team division is looking very strong on Raw. It is looking very strong. So looking at that then, it means I'm going to have to start competing there because at the moment, I think SmackDown is actually lacking some tag team-esque division feel about it. So let's see. You've got 3 real big tag teams there. I mean, there is options. I could go with the Shining Stars. I'm not. I could go... As if I'd go with the Shining Stars. I think I could always go with Breezango, but I don't think I should do that either. I think that I'm going to have to look at potentially some experience in the tag team division just to get us started off. And I think the Dudley Boys, I think, would be a very handy addition. Even though they've not been booked correctly at the moment, I think they still have potential. So the Dudley Boys are coming to SmackDown.
Great pick. Number 13, I don't know if it's gone on the radar, would be none other than Dolph Ziggler. I think clearly, company man, been in the company for a while. Great. Whenever he's in the ring, he has very decent matches with pretty much anybody within reason.
He does indeed. I would say potentially it has gone under the radar. I'm not sure if he is as relevant. That's I think the sad part at the moment with him. But you know, I think looking then for the next pick, I want to make sure that this draft actually remains quite strong and that we don't lose some of the big names. So I'm going to look further ahead. Oh, hello. Who are we missing out on? I mean, there is potentially some more star power we could collect on the likes of Goldust. Maybe Darren Young. Maybe not. Let's have a look through. Well, I'll tell you what. We're going to have to look further in. And I'm going to go with... If Paige is on the roster... I think we need to rebuild Alberto Del Rio, and I think he needs a spot on this roster. So Alberto Del Rio is going to be my next draft pick. Keeps a happy couple going.
Great pick. My next pick is another tag team from NXT. None other than Masama Ciampa and Gargano as well. I think they'd be fantastic on the main roster, so I'm going to bring them up as well.
Fantastic stuff indeed. And thank you for that, because I can't spell Johnny Gargano to save my life. So that's going to be very interesting trying to write that out for everyone to do that. So we'll put Ciampa down for now. But very good draft pick. I was nervous you were going to go for a different tandem from NXT, which means you've automatically made my next choice for me. I'm bringing the Revival to the main stage. I think that they have potential to really be one of the top dominant force tag teams in WWE in the future.
Great pick, fantastic pick. I'm now going to go for somebody else. I'm down to sort of one of 2 people now, and maybe a tandem as well. So, but I'm going to go for this one person. I believe still could do something within WWE. He's a former United States champion, none other than Kalisto.
Oh, nice! And you split him up as well there from Sin Cara.
Yeah,
nice.
He's always good work. Has been singles. As a tag team, I found that he was almost carrying the tandem, so to speak.
Yeah, you could argue that indeed. I think that's a pretty good draft pick up to now, looking there. I definitely think he would work well as some of the wrestlers you've called up there, even if he wouldn't be winning all the matches. It certainly would be exciting to see that happen. We're kind of looking now through the roster now, and you start to feel now, right, who is there left to pick, really? Because, let's be honest, I think some of us don't want the Mark Henrys of this world on their rosters, but then maybe you might, I'm not sure, but I think I need some more single power, and like you say, you've got some of these sort of stars that can do that sort of stuff, Kalisto and that, so I need to, I think, kind of rival that a little bit. So I think we'll get some more UK flavour on this roster. I think Neville is going to be my next draft pick.
Fantastic pick again. It's a real good pick. My next pick, is none other. I don't know how this is going to go down. If this has gone under the radar with you, Steve, will be none other than the Wyatt family without Bray Wyatt. If I could, can I do that?
You can indeed, yeah. I must admit, I wasn't really a fan of having Rowan and Strowman on the white sort of side. So
Could I fly at Harper if possible, or would that not be included in that sort of deal?
very interesting actually, because of the fact that you look at it and say, well, arguably he's still part of them, isn't he? He's out for the next 6 months. So I mean, good luck booking him. But so,
Yeah.
but yeah, I suppose he's on offer. So yeah, I'm going to say yeah, take him. He's there. He's yours. So yeah, I will allow that. Don't forget as well, you still have the Miz in that lineup up there as well, which is pretty going to be exciting. You've got a mid card title there on Raw. Right, who are we going to go for next? Well, I'll tell you what. This is very interesting now, where to go here, because I feel that we need just that little touch of star power. Little touch of star power. And I think really you look at it and say that maybe this has gone under the radar, but WrestleMania season is going to come along and we're going to need a big star, definitely to match up with the Rollins and the Styles and the Cenas and the Ortons. I think that if he was to make a comeback, even for just one time of year, it would be good to have him. So I'm going to take The Rock as my next draft pick for SmackDown.
Fair play. I didn't put him on the list, but no, I think you can do cameos like that. I think I'm sort of what I am going to do. I'm going to go for somebody I think might be a bit more realistic. Clearly, he's been not booked very well, but he is an ex-world champion. This might have gone under the radar slightly as well. In my federation, this guy would go back nearly to where he was before. Hopefully, getting back to where he was. None other than Sheamus.
Sheamus, yes, no, very good draft pick. I must admit, I looked at him earlier in the draft, and I didn't go with him in the end. So, good draft pick. I think he definitely was around the area where he would be picked. So, fair play for picking on Sheamus there. Do you see him around the top end of the card then, or do you think just above the middle? Whereabouts would you place him?
He needs to come back up. He needs to work his way upwards. Clearly, he's not going to be in a main event, but I think United States, not United States, I think in the Continental title, I think if he can get a decent push behind him and get back to sort of when he first came into WWE, when he had that feud with John Cena, he was so over and he came in with such an impact. We need to get him back to that, really.
I think it would be good to have him there. Would you keep him with the mohawk, or would you shave that right off?
Whatever's marketable, I think. I don't think it makes any difference to the hair so much. He just needs sort of to be put the right way.
He certainly does indeed. Well, I'm currently having a look through of who my potential next draft pick would be. So it's very interesting to see where we could go here. There's certainly some good wrestlers available still. Just who would we go for? If you're wondering if it was going to be Jose, well, no way, Jose. He's not coming on my roster anytime soon, unfortunately for him. But I think we have to look further once again at the women's division, because at the moment I'm almost conceding the tag team division for me is not going to be as strong as the Raw tag team division. I think with the New Day, they're going to be on there a lot, and you have got some of the more stronger tag team division athletes there. So I'm going to look for the women's division once again, and I'm going to take Becky Lynch. I think she'll be very handy for the SmackDown roster.
Great pick again. I'm going to take none other. This is a tandem. I don't believe they've gone as of yet. I'm going to take the Usos.
Nice. Do you know what, they really did go under the radar? I must admit, I forgot they even existed, the Usos. So yep, good choice there on that draft pick there. So who should we go for next? Very interesting. Well, now I have to look at the females that I've got, because I don't want to break my the rules here. I actually have currently 4 women on the division, so I can only pick one more. At the moment, you're on 1, 2, 3. You're on 4 tag teams as well, so you can only bring one more tag team to the main roster at the moment. And I don't believe there are any women's wrestlers currently. Oh, wait, no, there might be 5 there. 1, 2. You've currently picked all 5 tag teams, George, now. So at the moment now, they're uneligible for any more tag teams on the roster for the Raw brand now. So that's official there. And there is only 2 tag teams currently on SmackDown. So that's currently under the current logic of the rules at the moment that we're doing. Okay. So without further ado then, we're going to look for our next draft pick. And I think that means then definitely need to pick a strong pick and keep this roster feeling quite strong against Raw, because Raw have got a very talented bunch. I'm going to go for a tag team outfit just to basically fill out the roster a little bit, keep the tag team division going. I'm going to go for not American Alpha, the Social Outcasts are coming over, because I believe the Bow Train Yes, the Bow Train is going to be doing pretty well on SmackDown.
Fair play, good pick. I'm going to go for a long shot that's totally outside the box. I'd be very surprised if you thought of this one, Steve. To join Enzo and Big Kaz, none other than Carmella from NXT.
Very good. Good choice for the female division there. Carmella, definitely strong, and she's got a bright future in WWE. There's no doubt on that. She's going to be very good when she's on the main roster, I think. And there are rumours that her joining the main roster could be imminent. So be very exciting if she does come up. I think then looking at this, and I think I need to have one more female wrestler, and it's going to be... There's two or three I could go for. There is two or three to go for. I could have gone for Emma. I think she's a good worker. Dana Brooke, of course, because of the fact of her links with Charlotte. But you know what? Yeah, I could have gone for Nia Jax, but you know what? I'm going to go for NXT, and I'm going to go for Asuka. I think she, again, international. I think she'd be fantastic on that main roster, and I think the women's division now is definitely strong on SmackDown.
I'm going to clarify something as well. I'm not actually going to have any women's wrestling on Raw, which might not go down too well. But no. What I have done though with Kamala, my last pick, she would be a manager for Enzo and Kaz. Not that they need anybody on the mic, just as a tandem, almost as a trio they had previously. But going on to my next pick now, that has left it down to a few people. We are down to sort of the bones now of people to pick. I'm down to one or three people, and this person's on it's on a bit of a push really. He's recently come onto the roster after WrestleMania. It's none other than Baron Corbin.
Baron Corbin, a very good pick. Yeah, I think he would be pretty good actually on Raw there with the people you've got. Just promise me one thing.
Yes.
No more matches with Dolph Ziggler.
I'll try.
We've had too many of those, so I don't think we can put up with many more of them. I really don't. So right, okay then. Let's have a look then next then for my following draft pick. It's now almost the moment where you kind of think, yeah, the roster perhaps isn't as strong now looking at what we could get, but maybe there could be just someone that could come up, that could do a job that you don't expect. And do you know what I think I need? NXT fans are going to be pretty aware of this guy. I need someone that's at caliber. I don't need like someone that's perhaps rated like a 5. I don't need a 6. I don't even need a 9. I need a perfect 10. So I think Ty Dillinger is going to have to come to the SmackDown roster. I think that he is getting over and over the more it goes on. So Ty Dillinger will be my next pick.
Great pick. I'm going now for former Intercontinental Champion. He held the belt as recently as WrestleMania. None other than Zack Ryder.
Good choice, yeah, Zack Ryder. And that's without Mojo Rawley as well. Poor Mojo, because he's not getting picked down here. So I'm not a fan of Mojo, as I've probably said a few times there. But, well, I think that I do need some tag team flavour on my roster. So the Vaudevillains are going to be next to come on, because I think that they have got some good mic work. And I think there is some promising ideas that they could do something on the SmackDown brand, particularly with the Social Outcasts, the Dudley Boys as well, and the Revival.
Pick. I'm going for another long shot here. This is a guy that I think stuck in an awful gimmick. None other than Tyler Breeze.
Oh, he was going to be my next pick as well. So I'm a little bit disappointed on this case that it didn't happen. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Right, so we've got Tyler Breeze. That's it. I'm making notes of all these as well for people at home, just so that you do realise that you are going to get your team set there. Right, okay. Who are we going to pick next then? Oh, it really does feel like you say comes down to the bare bones now. I can't pick any more of the female competitors, so we're now looking at perhaps more of the jobbers perhaps on Raw, perhaps more than anything. But who should we go for? Is there a chance I could possibly make Darren Young great again? I don't know. I'm just not convinced. This is a tough one now. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I am actually going to make Apollo Crews my next pick, because I think that on SmackDown he has potential to be an all-rounder, and I think he would be a good addition.
Okay, there is one pick now which I don't know if I'm going to be allowed. This is one that you may not have seen, Steve, and I'm presuming this guy, when he comes back, will be in the ring, because clearly he held the belt as recently as Roadblock this year, none other than Triple H.
Yeah, he could be used. He was in the ring, so no, I think that's a good draft pick. Of course, he wouldn't be in the ring all the time, but he would definitely have some use on that roster. So, yeah, I think that's a very good pick there for you. Just looking through the numbers now.
I'm on 23.
You're on 23. Is that including your addition of The Miz as well?
Oh, no, actually, no. I've got one more left after The Miz then. Sorry, I'm on 24, including The Miz, sorry.
That's okay. I'm looking at mine at the moment as well. I feel like, hold on. 2, 3. I am currently on 20, pick 23. This is interesting. Okay, something's gone slightly wrong here. I'll double check of what was if anyone's been missed out or not afterwards. But right, looking at next for the next pick then for myself. Oh, this is interesting. This is interesting. I think we're going to need some main event status. He's not been active for a long time, but he is useful for WrestleManias. I think The Undertaker is going to be coming to SmackDown.
Fantastic pick. I did consider that. Clearly, The Undertaker's infrequent in terms of when he comes, but when he is there, he's a main, as you said, he's a main eventer. It's a great pick. This now brings me down, I'm down to 2 or 3 people that I could take for a final pick. I've got 2 ex-world champions that have both been untouched, which aren't being booked particularly well. And I've also got a wrestler in NXT that I think could make it on the main roster as well as somebody else. But I think this is brilliant. It's probably not, this guy's not talented, but this guy would be useful around WrestleMania season. He's an ex-world champion. Clearly he was on Raw as recent as this week, The Big Show.
Yeah, The Big Show, indeed, yeah. Would there be retirement stipulations coming in?
I think so. It depends entirely sort of, WWE with stipulations doesn't really stick to it, but Big Show probably, if we're only doing 25 picks, Big Show probably would be my final pick.
Sounds very interesting final pick indeed. Well, looking then at the roster, it appears that almost everyone has been selected. But then I suppose, yeah, because The Miz by default is a pick there for you. I've looked through this, and that's what's made that a default pick. So I have then 2 picks to finish off, because I'm currently on 23. So to finish this off then, I get picks 24 and 25, it looks. So
yeah.
Looking through this then, this is very interesting where we're going to go. Like you said, there's ex-world champions. There is potential guys that could make it on the main roster. I think my first pick he's currently inactive, but there are rumours going around that he could be involved in action as soon as this weekend. I'm going to be picking Hideo Itami as my next draft pick. So Hideo Itami is coming to SmackDown.
Fantastic pick.
Was he someone potentially you would have thought of bringing up as one of those last ones?
I looked at him, considering him, but then sort of in NXT, he's very listed, but he's great in the ring. I think clearly he could go somewhere. He'd be very good in a program with Shinsuke Nakamura, I think, if he did that.
Definitely. In fact, I could almost have my own little stable, couldn't I, with Oscar in there as well. But, yeah, very interesting where we could go here. And looking for one final draft pick. It's a shame that I've broken the 5 Diva rule, or the 5 women rule, because Nia Jax is still available at the moment. But looking at this then, who would be the last pick? Sin Cara is still available. Ryback is still under contract, but, well, I think we know that ship has sailed. There are the Shining Stars. They are available. I could go for the Ascension if I wanted to have my own show of Velocity. But I believe, Jack Swagger is still available. Goldust, R-Truth. Where should we go? It's a very big question here because it's a final draft pick and it could make all the difference of whether they think Raw or SmackDown is stronger. And looking at it then. I think you always have to look to the future rather than the past. So I'm going to look past people like Jack Swagger. I'm going to look past the Fandangos of this world. I'm sorry, guys. He's going to probably be demoted at this rate. So I'm going to go back down to NXT. It's a very difficult choice here because actually looking at NXT, I don't see anyone there now that I potentially think can make it now. I'll tell you who I will pick, actually. I will pick that newest member of the NXT roster. He made his debut at the recent TakeOver. Although I can't say his name very well. But Alamus Do you know the guy I'm on about?
Oh, what, from the tag team?
No, he joined recently on NXT, and his name escapes my mind because he's not on this list either. There we are. Andrade Almas will be
Oh, okay.
my final draft pick because the guy is fantastic in the ring, and I think he currently has been booked very well. But I think that he could be booked pretty well under my leadership in SmackDown. So that is the draft then for you. So I'm going to make sure I write in Andrade Almas because I'm going to quickly go over the drafts for everyone quickly. We're going to go through all the names. George, are you feeling confident you have the perfect brand here?
I think I've got a good brand. I've got one quick question for you, Steve, just before you go forward. The three people you did miss out on that were on my list that I might have gone were none other than Titus O'Neil, Kane,
Interesting.
and Richard Swan from NXT. Would have you taken any of them if you thought about it in hindsight now?
I looked at Kane, I must admit, and I chose against it because we spoke briefly in this podcast earlier saying that we didn't think that he was relevant anymore. So I didn't go for that. Titus O'Neil, I'm not going to lie, might have missed that one out. Just might have missed Titus O'Neil. And I think potentially that we could have done something there with him and perhaps in Apollo Crews. They could have made him a tag team. Could have actually had a bit of direction there on SmackDown. But no, I must admit I did miss out on him. And I must admit Richard Swan, I don't think that I'm too disappointed that I've missed out on him, thinking that my last two draft picks were Atami and Almas. I think that they definitely had a place there. But yeah, I think that we'll go through the Raw roster then very quickly for people that are thinking, goodness, that last half an hour we've forgotten who's gone where. Well, on Raw, we've got Seth Rollins, AJ Styles, John Cena, Randy Orton, Sami Zayn, Enzo Amore and Big Cass, Cesaro, Chris Jericho, American Alpha, Austin Aries, Samoa Joe, Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows, Dolph Ziggler, Mustafa Ciampa and Johnny Gargano, Kalisto, the Wyatt family. We've got Sheamus, the Usos, Carmella, Baron Corbin, Zack Ryder, Tyler Breeze, Triple H, The Miz, and The Big Show. A very strong roster.
You missed one as well. My second pick, I don't know if I've counted right, was Dean Ambrose.
Well, he was ineligible. Remember being.
Sorry.
So that would be the reason why. But on SmackDown, we've got the Beast Incarnate Brock Lesnar, which means he comes with Paul Heyman. We've got Roman Reigns. We've got Kevin Owens, Shinsuke Nakamura, Finn Balor, Bray Wyatt, Sasha Banks, Rusev with Lana, Bayley, Bobby Roode, Paige, the Dudley Boys, Alberto Del Rio, The Revival, Neville, The Rock, Becky Lynch, The Social Outcasts, Oscar, Ty Dillinger, The Vaudevillains, Apollo Crews, The Undertaker, Hideo Itami, and Andrade Almas. So that is the draft picks for you there. George, your feelings then on the draft. Do you feel, was it easy the whole way through to pick a roster there, or did you feel it got quite difficult from a certain point onwards?
I think it's hard towards the end. Clearly, both were going for very similar people. Clearly, you've got a great Divas division on your roster, whereas mine's mainly focused on tag teams. I think sort of both rosters are good. I think what threw me with your roster, Steve, was the inclusion of The Rock and Undertaker. I don't know sort of whether they would have come back, if that makes sense. But no, clearly they're fantastic signings for you.
Well, they are under where they can make appearances in WWE. Of course, The Rock comes around WrestleMania time, so does The Undertaker. And it's that kind of feeling like Triple H. There's the star power there because, I mean, if they come in, you look at guys like Kevin Owens, Nakamura, Balor, Wyatt, they are star players, but they're just a little bit just under that moment. They need to still build. They're more looking towards the future, where then you look and say, well, perhaps Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns are the main two. So if you wanted to add two other people to that list, then two, I think, fill the role pretty well.
Yeah, no, I think Lesnar's definitely a good signing for you. I think it's very interesting just when you put the roster in front of you, when you've got to choose somebody. Clearly, you think who's going to work. I think we've done reasonably well, both of us. I think both of us have made some very good picks.
Definitely indeed. Now, here's one other question before we start closing and wrapping up the show. If the roles had been reversed, and I was Raw and you were SmackDown, or I had picked first and you picked second, how different do you think your roster may look to mine?
I think it'd be very similar. Would have you gone for the same people? Besides, obviously, you said when I first went for Seth Rollins, it would have been your first pick. If you would have said Seth Rollins straight away, I would have then probably looked to get maybe Roman. I would have gone for Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns wasn't even. It was on my list, but he was so far down, if that makes sense. Maybe it depends. Obviously, having the first pick though is a great advantage. But then, as you said, towards the end, you did get the final two picks, but that maybe wasn't so good with what was left.
I must admit, actually, I was quite happy with the last two picks. I think perhaps if we were to look at it now and would say who were your most disappointing picks, who would be your most disappointing picks?
Probably the Big Show. I think the Big Show. I think Carmella could have been a wasted pick as well, particularly because I haven't got a Divas division. But she's clearly just going to add as a tandem, if that makes sense. But no, I found once you got through the first 10 or 12, what was left, it's very hard. You're then having to go to NXT to reach out and hopefully taking a chance on people such as Tommaso Ciampa and Gargano together, hoping that they work out and hoping that sort of people like Tyler Breeze are going to have to do so much work to eradicate the bad booking they've had so far.
Indefinitely. I think for myself, I think the social outcasts, I mean, perhaps I could have left them a lot later, but I think for just adding a few bodies on the roster, like you had a stable in having the Wyatt family, so it seemed kind of interesting to have there. I think Bray Wyatt will be fine on his own, though, without the family. I think that's just what he needs. I think that's what we've discussed previously on this podcast. For me as well, perhaps maybe the Vaudevillains, maybe. I'm a little bit perhaps feeling that the tag teams division could have been stronger on this roster, but I think with the rest of it, looking perhaps at the singles action and the women's action, I think there's more than enough there to make a strong roster. If you were to see two rosters like this at the very end, then would you be compelled to watch both Raw and SmackDown each and every week?
I think it's exciting, definitely. If you look at sort of just looking at the Raw roster now, having Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, AJ Styles, Sami Zayn, all on the same roster, and when you put in Austin Aries, Samoa Joe as well, all them individuals together could do some fantastic work in the ring. That's just one part of the roster. You've also got the tag teams as well. With your roster, though, you've got some fantastic attractions, such as The Undertaker and Rock, that could come in at any time. I think you sort of having the Divas there, clearly you've got a fantastic Divas division. The Divas are fantastic as well, which that would be a big loss if Raw didn't have any Divas, I've got to admit that.
Definitely indeed. Well, I tell you what, we're going to put it to the public, and that's pretty much how we expect it to go. I mean, imagine when the actual show happens, SmackDown's only a 2-hour show, we're probably not going to get 25 picks for Shane and Steph. They'll probably get perhaps maybe 10 at the most, I imagine, perhaps on the show, and the rest will be one of these supplemental drafts where you find out on WWE.com who gets who, whether it be decided via a match, who gets the first pick. We'll have to wait and see, but I think that's pretty much how it's roughly going to go. It doesn't look like we're going to get these sort of visuals of who is randomly given to Raw and SmackDown, so it'd be very exciting as it happens. For me, I think it's made me very excited for the draft when it happens. Let's just hope there are a few more additions perhaps brought back to WWE or new signings brought in with some of the names that have been rumoured.
Yeah, potentially. I think it could be clear. This did highlight though what weakness there are towards the end of the card. If that makes sense, towards the end of the roster, clearly you can see why WWE have been reaching out to these ex-stars such as allegedly Kurt Angle and other people to get them back. Really, there's a massive hole in WWE's roster. I think clearly you've got some fantastic talent in NXT, but they've booked a lot of the talent on the main roster currently so bad. But what I have noticed with the draft that I chose, I purposely chose sort of the whole of the club. I think the club really, if they were booked right, could go far.
Definitely. It felt to me that your roster, which I like, has got a lot of the indie style wrestling. I feel that mine kind of actually goes internationally and characters and star power. I think that's what my roster then ultimately went to be looking for. But I think, to be honest, really, if I had looked to maybe to do it again and did it in a different way or had different options, of course I would love the likes of like a Sami Zayn, a Seth Rollins, AJ Styles, the club, all on the roster because they're big names. American Alpha, I think, for me as well, was a big blow when I see them get called out.
Yeah, I think sort of, but then clearly you countered that blow with the revival, which I thought was a great move.
You have to get the punches in while you can. So, but we'll leave it to the public anyway. And that has been this episode of this particular podcast. George, anything you'd like to add before we leave?
No, I thank everybody for listening. It's been a fantastic episode. And no, let's hope next week's Raw has been exciting as this week.
Let's hope so indeed. I mean, Raw wasn't a bad show this week, and SmackDown is okay. I'll leave that with okay for you, but do check out if you do get the opportunity. But let's hope Raw next week is going to be very good indeed. But yeah, we'll leave you the places where you can find us now. You're listening via SoundCloud, SCW, The Wrestling Podcast. Hit that follow button now. You might also be listening to YouTube for the first time. If I've done this right, then this is available on YouTube to actually watch and listen to at the same time. Of course, I'm there for breaking news on YouTube as well. Hashtag SCW. The Steve Chats Wrestling. Almost stumbled over my own words there, but do subscribe to that channel. I do recommend subscribe to that channel because all breaking news goes straight onto there. So hashtag SCW Steve Chats Wrestling. Facebook page, of course, if you want to like us on there, just got to go to the top of the search engine, SCW The Wrestling Podcast. If you want to message me directly, Twitter, the place to be at SChat Wrestling. But this has been episode 28, SCW The Wrestling Podcast, and we'll be back very soon with episode 29. George, thank you very much for being on the show as always. Thank you very much to the listeners as well, and we look forward to seeing you for the next episode right here on SCW The Wrestling Podcast.